There is an aspect of video making or writing or other creative endeavours where the creator makes an assumption about the audience's ability to interpret the intended meaning accurately or to be able to understand distinctions, all of which are clear to the creator so they don't explain it explicitly in the text. For example, I once assumed that if people saw the dating system of BD and AD, which switches over with the birth of Dante, they'd be able to extrapolate that the two terms are before Dante and after Dante. Instead, a lot of people took AD to mean Anno Domini, as if I was suggesting that Dante was born the same year as Jesus and that the Devil May Cry series is set largely within his lifetime. The latter interpretation is so idiotic that it never once crossed my mind that someone could possibly think that was what I was saying. Yes, I should probably have still included the explanation rather than editing it out, but I expected the audience to be able to piece things together like that. The relevance of all this is that the same thought process has gone on with my discussion of NetherRealm Studios' fandom. When I receive criticism, it's usually just disagreements on opinions, people making broad statements and not backing them up when pressed, or accusing me of being wrong about some fact and then proving that they are the one who is wrong. One of the few criticisms I've received that was backed up and not immediately debunked is my alleged dismissive, condescending, and hostile attitude towards NetherRealm fans, and I'd like to clear the air on that. In my mind, there is a very clear distinction between the concepts of fans and fanboys that I assumed everyone else had, and thus that I didn't need to explain it. Apparently, this is not the case. To me, a fan is someone who likes a thing, simple as that. A fanboy, however, is someone who is such a diehard fan, who places so much stock in a franchise and its public perception, to whom being a fan of this thing is such a large part of their personal identity, that they simply cannot stand any form of criticism aimed towards it, and will rabidly defend it with poorly constructed and generally inaccurate rebuttals, ad hominem attacks, and general childish name-calling. You know, it's basically what my detractors like to describe me as towards the 3D era, or the general view of K-pop fans. I think people use the word stan for this kind of person these days. A fan is a reasonable person who can see and acknowledge the flaws of things they like. Fanboys either cannot see them through their blind loyalty, or they can but are too far in denial to be able to accept them. And I get it. It can feel like you're being told your worldview is wrong or that you have bad taste when someone suggests that this thing you like has bad parts or this thing you despise has good in it. But that just isn't rational, and we need to keep that in mind when discussing media and people. We live in such a bizarre culture where all nuance is lost. Context no longer matters, and people and products are either flawlessly good or irredeemably bad. No middle ground, no good but flawed or bad but redeemable. A person makes one slip up online, cancelled. A piece of media is generally bad, no redeeming factors. A piece of media is good, beyond reproach, and fuck you for trying. It's okay for you to like NetherRealm games. It's okay to like their stories. Even I, someone who thinks they're bad and that MK11 is a fucking dumpster fire, wouldn't say that you liking it is not okay, and if I ever did, then I am sorry. That's an unreasonable thing to say. However, me saying I don't understand how someone could like it or asking why they do is not an attack on you for the things you like. It's an invitation for you to explain your side of the debate. Discussion of really anything at this point far too often gets bogged down in people on both sides acting childishly and making the other side less willing to listen. Objective analysis is so hard because what you may think is objective can be easily disagreed with. I hold that the changes made to Sindel in MK11 are objectively bad because it's inconsistent with everything we've seen of her up to now, and it removes all nuance from her character and makes her a flat stereotype. But some people still think the new version is better. To me, those people are objectively wrong, and the way many of them so smugly present their take as more accurate despite being so clearly flawed in my eyes, leaves me seeing those people as complete idiots. It's possible I've used the word fan instead of fanboy in some instances, and if I have, then I apologise for that. That's a genuine mistake and that's on me. The kind of people I, for instance, called fucking scum in the Injustice 2 critique are not the people who simply like Injustice 2, be it for the gameplay or the universe the series has created. It's the people who will defend NetherRealm's output to such a ludicrous degree that they will, to use a recent example, go out of their way to insult people upset over Sindel's new backstory. A fan who doesn't care will simply say, I don't care as long as she plays well, or I like the new version. And that's fine. A fanboy will say, I don't care lol why you babies crying about this, or the old Sindel was shit, this one is better, yas queen. I could spend so much time deconstructing these arguments, but the ultimate point is that a fan can simply disagree and either debate at it or move on without things getting personal. A fanboy can't do that. They'll call people who have issues with the product ungrateful or babies, or resort to worthless, baseless and irrelevant retorts like "you're just bad at the game" or "just play the game," if I had a quid for every time I'd heard that one. The former are okay, but fuck the latter. Maybe I have displayed some of these traits with regards to my hatred of NetherRealm's output and their recent attitude towards the older games. It's never been my intention to come across that way. Some people have suggested going for a more calm and collected approach, but MK just means so much to me that I get really passionate about it and can't help but get frustrated by how badly botched so much of the modern series has become and how many alleged fans are willing to mindlessly accept it. The fanboy attitude that the thing they like is completely flawless and beyond reproach, that's what destroys franchises. When you don't criticize a franchise you like, when you just act like it's perfect and there's nothing wrong with it, then you allow the creators to grow complacent and never improve the product, and so it just wallows in stagnation. It's not the people who criticize a franchise that destroy it, it's the people who don't. What I try to encourage is for people to not just accept NetherRealm's bad writing and game design, but to instead ask for better. And contrary to popular belief, it's not just me telling people what to think. Giving one's opinion is not the same as telling people what to think. That's one of those lazy arguments the weak-willed use because they lack the intellect to construct a better rebuttal to an opinion they disagree with. Or because they agree with the argument on some level but don't want to admit it, so they convince themselves they're being manipulated. They can't break down the opinion itself, so they attack the person's character. It's ad hominem is what it is. If you think my approach is flawed, then you have to actually tell me that and explain why it's an issue with a specific example to back it up. There's no point bitching about me on Reddit where I'll never see it and learn from it, nor in saying it to me with no examples for me to look at and accept your claims as valid. That's the kind of cowardice I see with fanboys who call me wrong and then back down when pressed for an explanation. Be a fan, not a fanboy.